Welcome back to the deep dive. We are continuing our systematic journey along the golden path.
And today we're hitting a big one.
A really big one. We're focusing on one of the most destructive forces anyone faces when trying to build real financial independence. We're talking about debt.
This is step 7, and we are firmly in stage 2, building financial resilience.
Right. So just to recap, we've already covered the internal shifts, the big ones like perception, identity, vision.
And then the practical groundwork. Things like financial mapping, budgeting, getting cash flow under control.
Establishing that consistent saving habit, and of course, building that essential emergency fund. That was all about securing the base.
Exactly. Stopping the leaks. And today we are tackling the biggest leak of all for most people.
This entire 3-stage strategy for financial independence was originated by me, Tamir Khaham, and my approach is really clear on this. Without securing this base, any attempt to build up wealth later on it's just going to fail.
It's building on sand. So now we move to probably the most important cleanup job in all of stage 2.
Managing and eliminating bad debts.
The strategic objective here is simple. You want to stop the financial erosion, cut those interest payments, and critically free up the cash flow that is currently just stuck. It's servicing the past.
You have this a way of framing the mission for this phase that I think really hits home.
You cannot build a future on a foundation that is actively being destroyed by high-interest liabilities. Debt is the anti-asset. It is the physical manifestation of time and freedom you have already forfeited.
That quote just lands so heavily, the anti-asset. I think that drives home the core idea here. We're looking at getting rid of debt not as some painful chore, but as a strategic move. A move that gives you an instant guaranteed return.
Right. This isn't about making new money. This is about finally gaining control over the money you already earn. And to really get the intensity needed for this step, we have to frame it through the identity we're building.
The asset owner.
The asset owner.
So let's unpack that. How does an asset owner see debt compared to, say, a survivor, someone who's just trying to get by?
It's a fundamental difference. I mean, it's night and day. The asset owner's goal is financial independence. That means their passive income covers all their expenses. They are actively buying back their time.
Their freedom.
Their freedom. The survivor, on the other hand, just sees debt as normal. It's just another monthly bill right alongside the rent or the electricity.
But the asset owner sees it differently, especially high-interest debt. It's not just a bill. It's a future obligation of time.
Exactly. Think about it. When you're paying off last year's vacation on a credit card, the money you're using today, that represents hours of your life, time you must trade for income just to stand still.
You're anchored. You're tied to a job just to service something that gives you zero value today.
It's a structural liability. It literally prevents you from shifting away from trading time for money. It holds you in place.
That idea of a structural anchor is so powerful. The source material says high-interest debt is actively destroying your foundation.
It is. If you're paying 20% on a credit card, any progress you make anywhere else is just being eaten away by this relentless erosion.
Which brings us to the silent killer here.
Yeah.
Compound interest working against you.
Yes. In stage 3, the growth stage, we want compound interest to be our best friend. We want it working for us, multiplying our assets.
But in stage 2, if you're carrying this kind of debt, it's your worst enemy. It's a constant invisible drain. That $1,000 you put on a card can easily become $2,000 or $3,000 you pay back over time.
Let's put a hard number on that, because this is where the instant guaranteed return thing becomes so clear.
Go for it.
Imagine you have a $5,000 balance on a credit card. Let's say it's at a pretty typical 20% interest rate.
Okay.
Over 1 year, you are losing $1,000. Just in interest. That's assuming you don't even pay down the principal. Just treading water costs you $1,000.
And that $1,000 isn't pre-tax money.
No.
You had to go out and earn maybe $1,300, $1,400, pay your taxes, just to have $1,000 left over to hand to the credit card company.
You're running on a treadmill, fighting a guaranteed 20% loss every single year. So when you pay off that $5,000 debt, what happens?
You get an immediate, guaranteed 20% risk-free return.
Instantly. You stop that $1,000 outflow. Now, just try to find an investment in the stock market that guarantees you a 20% return after taxes with zero risk.
It doesn't exist.
It does not exist.
Yeah.
So eliminating that debt is the single greatest defensive and offensive move you can make with your money at this stage.
That really reframes it. It's not about sacrifice at all. It's about choosing to accept a guaranteed 20% return on your capital.
It is the most profitable thing you can possibly do with your money in stage 2, period.
Okay, so this brings us to a really important strategic point. The system specifically targets bad debts, which implies that not all debt is bad.
And that is the pivotal question. It's what separates a real financial strategy from just, being afraid of debt. The whole point is to move from defense to offense, from stage 2 to stage 3.
And to do that, you need to be able to tell the difference.
You have to distinguish between debt for consumption and debt for strategic generation.
So let's define the enemy first. What is the bad debt we need to get rid of?
We call it consumption debt. This is any high-interest debt tied to things that don't generate income.
Usual suspects.
The usual suspects. Credit card balances, personal loans for vacations or gadgets, high-interest car loans on a depreciating vehicle. The key is that it just siphons your cash flow away. It traps the capital you should be using to invest.
It's the price of the past, literally holding your future hostage.
That's a great way to put it. Now contrast that with what we call growth debt or strategic debt.
Okay.
This is a loan you take out specifically to buy an asset that produces income, a mortgage on a rental property, for example. The goal is that the income from the asset, the rent, more than covers the cost of the debt.
So the asset pays for itself and then some.
And builds your equity. The distinction isn't just about the interest rate. It's about the purpose. An asset owner is willing to use debt to acquire income-generating systems, but is absolutely ruthless about avoiding debt for consumption.
And they understand you have to get rid of the consumption debt first.
You must. If you try to skip this step and jump straight into investing while you still got credit card debt, any return you make is just going to be eaten alive by the interest payments.
You're trying to fill a bucket with a giant hole in it.
You can't out-invest a 20% guaranteed loss. It's just not possible.
So once someone commits to this, what are the practical approaches? We hear about different methods, like paying off the smallest debt first or the one with the highest interest.
Right. That's the classic debt snowball versus debt avalanche debate. An asset owner needs to understand the logic behind both.
So what's the difference?
Well, mathematically, the debt avalanche is superior. You list all your debts by interest rate, and you attack the one with the highest rate first, while paying minimums on everything else.
Because that saves you the most money on interest over time.
Exactly. It's the most efficient path. It frees up your capital the fastest. But human psychology is a funny thing.
Sometimes you just need a win.
You just need a win. And that's the debt snowball. You list your debts by balance, smallest to largest, and you knock out the smallest one first, regardless of the interest rate.
For that psychological boost, that feeling of momentum.
Yes. And an asset owner is smart enough to know which one they need. If you're disciplined, avalanche is better. If you're feeling overwhelmed and need to build momentum, snowball can be the key to sticking with it. The method is less important than the outcome.
Which is to neutralize that consumption debt completely.
And free up that cash flow. Because that money isn't just extra money for spending. It becomes the raw capital that you'll automate in step 8 and then deploy in step 10 to buy your first real yielding asset.
It's the fuel for the engine you're about to build in stage 3.
That's it. You shift from having your money commanded by interest payments to commanding your money to generate income for you.
This marks the conclusion of our core discussion on managing debt. Now, before we look ahead to the final steps in stage 2, we have an important clarification we have to make. Important clarification, not a financial advisor. This deep dive provides conceptual and strategic content only. It does not constitute financial advice, investment advice, or money management. I'm not acting as a financial advisor. All financial decisions and decisions regarding specific debt management tactics are the listener's sole responsibility. Results, disclaimer. There is no guarantee of results. Even if everything described in the Golden Path strategy is implemented correctly, success in achieving financial independence is not guaranteed. The fact that this approach worked for the system's originator does not guarantee it will work for others.
Thank you. It's critical to state that. And just to reinforce our main point today, getting rid of this bad debt, it isn't a one-time cleanup. It's a permanent structural change to your financial foundation.
It secures all the hard work you did in the previous steps.
It really does.
By getting rid of these financial anchors, you are actively solidifying your identity as a strategic asset owner, someone who controls their capital. You're no longer a survivor reacting to bills and interest rates.
You stop reacting and you start commanding. It's a huge shift. And once that anchor is gone, the path to stage 3 gets so much faster.
So we have 2 steps left in this resilience stage.
That's right. Next up is step 8, where we talk about the total automation of your money, making sure your savings, your debt payments, your future investments all run like a perfect machine in the background.
And after that?
Step 9, implementing risk management, the boring but essential stuff like insurance and basic legal planning to protect the foundation you've worked so hard to build.
So let's leave you with a final thought. I want you to think about the total amount of money you send out each month to service your high-interest consumption debts. Get that exact number in your head.
That number represents a fixed amount of time, hours of your life you have to work just to stay even.
Now imagine that money was completely freed up every single month. What yielding asset, what engine of passive income could you acquire with that capital that would buy that same amount of time back for you permanently?
That's the real cost of bad debt. It's the opportunity cost of your freedom.
We invite you to join us for the next deep dive as we continue stage 2 and focus on automating the very cash flow you have just worked so hard to free up.